time for the Roots and Roots Show with your host, Greg Rashid, bringing you history and music from the Black American diaspora. The goal of this show is to empower you with information that you can then seed and grow within your community. Now, here's your host, Greg Rashid.
Well, hello to everyone out there. This is Greg Rashid with another edition of the Root and Root Show. Heard by many people at a convenience everywhere from YouTube, iTunes, a little bit of everywhere, but a lot of folks listen every Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. Mountain Time on KUHSdenver.com, created by the one and only, the master of media, the master of the world, maybe, the one and only, the legendary, the amazing Henry Archuleta. And I want to say hi to all my friends in the Colorado region. Hope to get there at some point again, but I'm here right now in Bangkok, Thailand. And I always have to remind people that because there's still people who don't know that I'm over here. And I keep telling them I'm in Bangkok. I'm not in Denver. I'm not in Washington, D.C. I'm not in Iowa or Nebraska, anywhere where I've been in the past. I have retired in Thailand. And so I just want to remind folks, and because I'm on the balcony right now, you may hear noises. I always tell folks you'll hear people selling everything from rice, fish, a little bit of everything, brooms. But I like people to hear the ambiance out here in Bangkok. And I hope you're having, right now looking outside, by the way, I'm not going anywhere because the pollution is awful today. I can barely see downtown. It's so muggy and polluted. But I'm here ready to do this show for you as always and try to produce the best show I possibly can for you. And I want to thank everyone who has really, send me notices and all how they appreciate this show and offer suggestions as far as what I can do as far as guests and topics on the show. And I want to say this before I start the show that earlier this week, if you're listening Sunday, April the 10th, I want to say that I earlier in the week I was diagnosed with COVID, and it was very weird because I've done everything. I've gotten the 3 shots, which includes the booster with Pfizer, wear a mask, wash my hands, and all that. But I still got COVID. But because I had done all that and taken precautions in the past, my symptoms were extremely mild. It was like a brief cold, and it went away like less than 8 hours. And I've had 3 tests since then, and all of them have been negative. I mean, it's gone. COVID's gone. It's just out of my body, as they say in this country. Akbai, gone. It's gone. So I'm just very happy with that. But as I always conclude my show, and I want to say this at the beginning here, and having experienced COVID briefly, please, get a vaccine if you can wherever you are. You should be able to get one now wherever you are listening to the show in the world. Wear a mask. I know in the U.S. they're having mandates now where you don't have to wear a mask, but if you're in public, I'd be careful. That's all I'll say. I mean, you're required or you either get fined or go to jail if you don't wear a mask here. But please do that wherever you are in the world. Wash your hands constantly and just do what you can to make sure that the disease doesn't. I mean, it's everywhere, and my thing is that everyone probably already has it, that it's in everyone, and it just manifests based on how you protect yourself and all. If you don't protect yourself, it manifests itself in a negative way. So, do what you can as far as just getting, being COVID free. Do whatever you can to do that. But anyway, I want to get to the show here because this year we're celebrating 75th anniversary of Jackie Robinson, the great Brooklyn Dodger, great activist, just a little bit of everything, joining the MLB, Major League Baseball, in April 1947. By doing that, he integrated baseball that had been segregated for so many years, just ridiculous. And just, and there's still issues with Major League Baseball and all sports right now as far as the issues of race. But Jackie Robinson opened the door, and as Dr. King always said, without Jackie Robinson and Larry Doby, Don Newcomb, all other guys that pioneered, the civil rights movement would have been much more difficult for Dr. King and others. So really, we're going to celebrate today the life and legacy of Jackie Robinson on the show. And we're going to have a series of shows because if you have listened to my show over the years, I do a lot of shows about the Negro Leagues. I talk about what happened to the athletes back then and what they went through. And we're going to have a couple of shows in the next couple of months devoted to that, as always. But we're going to start today with Jackie Robinson. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to play a couple of shows. I've done a couple in the past, but there are always new folks to my show, and I want to be fair to them. I'm going to play these shows that Jackie Robinson did in the early 1960s, as a matter of fact. It was called Jackie Robinson's Radio Shots. And these were like 2.5-minute shows devoted to just interviews with people and also his commentaries. And as you see, when I play a couple of these right now, I'm not going to have the commercials on here, but I'm going to play a couple of these, starting with his interview with Satchel Paige. We'll be talking to Satchel Paige, then I'll do an interview with him with Monty Irving, Branch Rickey, and some editorials he did. So we're going to get that right now on the Root and Root Show. I hope you enjoy that as we honor the life and legacy of the great Jackie Robinson.
Today my guest will be Leroy Satchel Paige, one of the greatest pitchers of all times. In the twilight of his fabulous career, Satch came to the majors, and in my humble opinion, if Satchel Paige had come to the majors in his prime, he would have rewritten all of the record books. I'll be chatting with Satchel Paige just as soon as we have this important message. Satchel, I read quite frequently about Negro baseball. They say that Negro baseball players have played as many as 4 baseball games in one day. Has this ever happened to you?
Yes, it has, Jackie. We used to play in the morning, then in the evening, in the twilight, then a night game.
Did you ever have to pitch more than one game on any one given day?
Yeah, I pitched in doubleheaders. Sometimes I pitched the first 2.
Satch, you pitched in both the American National League?
Yes, I did.
Is there a difference in the hitters in these leagues, or do you have to pitch in the American League the same way as you did in the National League?
I pitch the same way, Jack. I just pitch out to every man. I stay on the outside corner till all batters low, around their knees. Make them reach for the ball.
Is there a particular story that stands out in your mind, a personal triumph for Satchel Paige, which would illustrate the kind of pitcher that everyone knows you to be?
Yes. When I was try to go 9 innings when I was with Cleveland in Chicago, and they sent Bob Feller and Bob Lemons to the bullpen to come get me if I didn't go the route.
Mm-hmm.
And I went the route, and I shut Chicago out again after I was in Chicago. The next day, Bob Feller pitched, I went and got him. Next day, Lemon pitched, and I went and got him.
3 days in a row, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that's the kind of arm. How is it your arm stood up? Is it a certain kind of training that you did?
No, Jack, I stays in condition when I first get into it. You know, when we first go out to train, I don't never get out of condition.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I really think that sometimes we have too many pitchers like in the big league, and they just don't have a chance to pitch, and that's when they go stale.
Uh-huh.
But see, I have to be on the diamond every day.
Well, Satch, your real name is Leroy, right?
That's right.
How did you happen to get the name of Satchel?
Jack, when I was a kid, I had a suitcase, and I used to have the balls and bats and mitts and everything belonged to me. And if they didn't let me play where I wanna, I would take my suitcase and go home.
That's quite interesting. It's like years ago when we used to play out in California, it was the same thing. Kids do it all the time, and it's another interesting story and another sidelight on Satchel Paige. Satch, thanks a lot for being with us, and good luck with your career.
And you're welcome.
Well, that just about does it for now, fans. See you soon. Today, my guest will be Monty Irvin, an outfielder who swung a big bat for the Giants back in the days when the Giants called the Polo Grounds in New York home. I'll begin my interview with Monty Irvin right after we hear this important message. Monty Irvin, I think one of the big unfortunate things in this whole situation as far as baseball is concerned is a guy like Monty Irvin didn't get a chance to get into baseball earlier. How old were you when you first started?
Well, I got started late, Jackie. I was 31 when I started, and of course I was a little disappointed that I couldn't get started at an earlier age.
I think that most people in baseball say that a guy reaches his peak at about 28, 29 years of age, and here you started at 31. Again, I say it's a real shame. Monty, I think in 1951, that was perhaps your greatest year, and you led the league, didn't you, in RBIs, and you came very close, and, well, matter of fact, there were many people who thought that you were the most valuable player. What do you think about the voting for the most valuable player?
Well, I think that there should be a new system, of course, devised to select or choose the most valuable player. Back in that 1951 season, as I can remember, I thought I had a pretty good year, and also Sal Magley. And we were real disappointed, of course, that Sal didn't win it. Because he pitched a great ball, and we just thought that Sal would be an automatic shoo-in. But, of course, Campy had a tremendous season, and he was selected.
Mm-hmm. There's no question about Roy having a great year. There was certainly no question about that if it was going to be a giant, it was going to be either you or Sal. I think perhaps there should be a change in the balloting. I don't know what the answer is, and I don't think it's our position to say, but I think there's something wrong with it, because if a fellow is not liked by one writer, where he has a vote, he will exclude him from all of his 10 selections, and I don't think this is fair, really.
Right, I can think of, I think it was a 1950 season when Robin Roberts had a tremendous year, and I think everyone thought that he'd win the most valuable player that year, and I think someone else was selected. I think Hank Sauer won it that year, and to the amazement of all the Eastern fans, and particularly the Philadelphia Philly fans.
Monty Irvin, as I said earlier, I'm awfully sorry, because I think Monty could have written a lot of records into the book had he been given an opportunity to, say, start playing when he was, say, 20 years of age. We're also happy that you were able to drop by and chat with us. Appreciate it a lot, Monty.
Always enjoy talking to you.
Well, that just about does it for now, fans. See you soon. Today I'm privileged to have as my guest Mr. Baseball, Branch Rickey. 50 or 100 years from now, my only claim to fame may well be the fact that I was the first Negro to play Major League Baseball. This could never have happened had it not been for Branch Rickey. I'll be talking to Mr. Rickey, the president of the New Continental League, right after this important message. Mr. Rickey, any plans for trying to have a uniformity of ballparks? I think when I was in baseball, many people want to know, why wouldn't a new league, if it starts, try to make all
We're very definite in the construction of our parks, are hoping that we'll approximate the same number of feet to the left field and the right field foul line corners.
I think this would certainly add considerably.
It means more to your, as you well know, it would mean more to your records,
yes,
to your statistics at the end of the year in judging players.
Mr. Rickey, another thing. With Little League flourishing all over the country, don't you think the forming of the Continental League would give great hope to these youngsters who want to get in?
It percolates down. It is entirely possible, Jackie, that this game's future lies in the direction of a prevailing number of cities, all major league. 179 million people with 20 great cities, 3 times the population of the ones in the American League. They need it. They ought to have it. They respond to it. And that's an invigorating and an inspiring thing. And while it rehabilitates the minor leagues, it reaches clear on down. Artistically, the high spot in baseball is the major leagues. The amateurs, down to the little leagues, they must be inspired. And the more we play it, the more we find recreational pursuits for the boyhood of America, the more you attack the juvenile problem, the vacation period in the summertime. This thing of nothing to do is the most damnable thing that can come into a boy's life. They're not creative. You can have great symphonies written by people of leisure, people who are masters of their own time. But you give leisure, nothing to do, pure idleness, to people who have no creativeness, and most boys do not at their ages. It can be a tragic thing.
Well, Mr. Rickey, I just want to say that I think you know how I feel. I sincerely